Hey Roger, so how long has it been since Seven has been independent now?
We've been on our own it's a little over a year now.
Okay, so a year later, a year on your own, what's changed for Seven, and has the switch to being independent been good for the brand?
Yeah, it was like the best thing we could have done. Everything like has happened kind of in stages. It's been all the moves we made. We couldn't have got to where we're at had we not done that. You know, like the partnership with Troy was helped us get to where we're at. I think just doing it on our own would have been pretty tough. But now that we are, you know, what goes on in this building. It's 100% focused on Seven. You know, every day of the week, where we didn't have that when we were with Troy.
One of the defining products that you guys had back then was James racing the compression stuff, but it was never available for purchase. And that's one of the first things you guys did when you became independently.
Yeah, no, they kind of fought it. Like, which even going farther back, that's what originally why James wanted to start Seven. One of the major reasons was because even when we were at Answer, he would propose all these new ideas, and kind of at the time, even I thought some of it was off the wall, but it was just a way more progressive way of thinking, and them being really slow to react to stuff, they were just like, whoa, that's too much for us. And even when, you know, we were partners with Troy, even he was like, man, I don't know, like that's, you know, it's pretty out there. And then, you know, once we did, you know, go out on our own, we were able to do it. And you know, just like with James kind of changing the way people ride a bike, now he's 100% for sure changed the way people will wear gear when they ride a bike. So you see all those little kids on, you know, 85s and Supermans trying to scrub everything for no reason. Now they're scrubbing everything in a compression jersey and athletic fit, you know, cut pants with four-way stretch. So it's cool to see, you know, even when he's not out there racing, the reach that he has and the impact he has on the sport is like no one else ever.
The other day I was going through a hard drive looking at some old photos, and I found a picture of Chad Reed, and you know, in his first stint with Team Yamaha, and I sent it to him, and we were texting back and forth, cracking up at how baggy riding gear used to be.
Dude, it still is though. There's still
some brands are really
some brands that haven't got on the bandwagon yet.
But the trend is definitely performance fit, snug, like compression or stretchy.
Yeah.
You know, I think there's no denying that there's some other brands out there that have taken note and have incorporated those styles and technologies into their product. Flattering, or is it frustrating?
No, I mean, it just proves that what we're doing here, we're doing the right thing. You know, if they're not copying you, you're not doing something right. Is kind of what I've said since we started. I think when we first came out, a lot of people were like, you know, I don't know, it's a little out there. But you know, like you said, we've been on our own for a year now, and we're, you know, technically a small brand, but now we're changing the way these companies that have been around for 30 years with hundreds of employees, you know, the way they think, their whole strategy, and you know, I think that is pretty cool, and that says a lot for the people that we have here. Like I said, we don't have a lot of people, but the people we do have, I think, are the best at what they do. From Mo as a designer and developer, Dennis, our sales guy. You know, like he's crushed what we did last year, now this year, but just by having him on board and being 100% focused on just the sales of Seven. So yeah, I'm stoked. So like I said, I think some people look at it like, oh man, that's messed up that they copied you, but like I said, if they're not copying you, you're not doing something right. And they all know, you know what I mean? Like they know they bit our style, but I also too, I think people know that and respect it, and you know, at the end of the day, they know we kind of led that whole trend.
Let me ask you this: Did it kind of took James as the right guy to market it?
Oh yeah, for sure. No, yeah, for sure.
If you think about it,
No, you.
Axo did something
Yeah.
very similar a few years before, and it didn't catch on at all. Didn't get any traction, but they didn't have someone to race in it.
Yeah, I don't even think. I mean, it's no knock against anyone else, but I think only James could really open the industry's eyes to see, hey, this kind of makes more sense. It's not any because of fashion or because it looks cool. There's a benefit, there is a reason. It's lighter, there are all these benefits, and that's James as a racer. That was his whole idea and mentality. But to do that and to make the industry see that and realize it and change, no other athlete could have done that. I just don't think it could have happened.
Let me ask you this: Where does the line between protection and function? Where do you have to draw that line? Because like if you think about even back in the '90s, the world-class trials riders were riding in skin suits, which is like a giant lycra onesie,
Yeah.
The compression jersey is not much different than that. I mean, are we going to see pants go that route too?
Yeah, I think it's just, not every rider is a James Stewart and that, but if you're looking for that, for that next level, you're trying to save some weight, then that's the kit you want. But that's why we have three different lines. It's just for that reason. Like I said, not every customer is going to want that, that benefit. And if they don't, then there's Annex and Rival, which is more traditional, but still has the 7 look and feel. But it's not for everybody for sure.
Sales wise, how does it work out? Do you sell most of the tight stuff or more of the entry stuff?
I don't know. It's a good question. Our entry level stuff. I mean, let's put this, but I don't think it's been out long enough to gauge. I don't know the answer to that one, to tell you the truth.
You did say that the teal, pink, black camel stuff that I was razzing you on that sold well.
Yeah, and I'll be the first to admit I didn't think it would, but Jake's gonna wear it this weekend. I didn't think it would, so I may think I know everything, but clearly I don't, because I didn't think that was going to be one of them.
All right, last weekend was Anaheim 1, and I know you probably got super tired of answering the question, but like, hey, where's your guys?
Yeah, someone said I should have made a T-shirt that just said, he's there, they'll be there soon, but it's rightfully so. If the shoe were on the other foot, I would probably ask someone, hey, where's your guy? But luckily he put that, and I don't even know when he did it, if he knew. Like, my first reaction was, thank God you posted that. So that eliminated a ton less questions on Saturday once he posted that. So that was actually pretty cool. But they'll both be out there soon enough.
You know for a fact they're working on something right now.
Yeah.
All right. Along those lines, what's your take? Why don't the two guys have rides? I mean,
well, everyone everyone thinks I'm their agent. I'm clearly not. I work for James and Seven. I think today everyone wants to be an agent. That's like the thing. A few years ago, everyone wanted to be a trainer, and everyone thinks they're an agent. I can probably count on one hand how many real agents there are in this sport. In my eyes, unless you bring outside money, legitimate outside money to the sport, you can't claim you're an agent. So my take on why, there's a lot of reasons, like just I don't know, just weird circumstances, like with the guys moving up, a couple teams going away. Even a few months back, if you wrote it out, like what spots are available, who's available. There just weren't enough seats, you know. And maybe it was our fault too, but we waited for a while, thinking that something would materialize with Honda and Geico, thinking that that's what they did with Bogle. You know, he just won the championship. That was kind of the right thing to do. But once I saw Brayton was on a 16 in Australia with some good parts, I was like, oh, this isn't going to go anywhere. So yeah, it was just a lot of unfortunate circumstances for Malcolm. And with James, I think, you know, with Yosh going away, you know, that I think we maybe would have still been there. You know, one bad season and one season missing altogether. It's tough, but yeah, there just isn't enough seats. You know, I mean, if we wouldn't even be having this conversation about Malcolm if he could have stayed in the lights class. I mean, I know personally he wouldn't want to, but to not have a job, you just suck it up and do it. We'd still be at Geico, you know, racing for another championship on the East or West. So, yeah.
This year, there's, you know, the key players that were like, wow, why doesn't that guy have a ride? Or, you know, both the Stewarts, Wilson, Weimer. I mean, if you look at Weimer and Wilson, they took two different approaches to it, you know. Weimer kept riding and just waited for a fill-in ride, which he got. Wilson says, screw this, I'm going to build a bike and go racing and be out there. Do you think that things might be different if Malcolm had raced the Nationals last year?
No, not at all. Not at all. I hate that when people say that, but he was never contracted to race the outdoors. He never went into it thinking he was going to race the outdoors. The whole focus throughout Supercross was to win that title, which he did. And then it was moved on to a 450. But what Malcolm did in Supercross, I don't think he could have done in the outdoors. And that's not a knock at him. It's just reality. He's a bigger guy on a little bike racing little kids. It just wasn't fair to him. And my concern was if he did do that and didn't get the results, you hear on this sport all the time, you're only as good as your last ride.
Yeah.
Well, his last ride should have been a championship in Vegas. That's what everyone remembers, not a 10th place at Ironman. You know, it just isn't fair to him. So I don't think that had any. And with the team that we were trying to do a deal with, that really didn't matter. You know, Geico and Honda, that was never the plan. So it really didn't matter for them. But and even what Dean's doing, you know, like the average person probably watching this video doesn't realize what it takes to build a program to go racing at this level. I think they think, you know, pick the bike you want. Well, there's so much that goes into it as far as, you know, motor package, you know, ignition, suspension. You know, like I said, I think the average person, they just don't realize, and the logistics, how you're going to get there, who's going to do the racing on the weekend, wrenching on the weekend, who's going to do the wrenching at home, and there's just a lot that goes into it that I think most people don't see. And now, I always said, like, when Malcolm was a privateer a few years ago and we did that whole 7 privateer deal, even that was a struggle. And I remember after that, I'm like, man, I'm going to really appreciate when he does get a factory ride, like what comes with it. But even at that level, back then, we basically already just bought the bike. You know, he just bought a TLD race bike, so the majority of the heavy lifting was already done. We just had to do a little bit more on his side. But now, where he's at now, it's, you know, he's doing everything. So but also too, when you do everything, it makes it way more gratifying, I think, at the end. So I'm looking forward to going racing this way.
The things I've heard are Mookie may show up at A2 and then James later, like Oakland or something?
I
What are the goals right now?
I don't want to. I want Malcolm to like. What the plan is, we're gonna do like a video press release, like probably Thursday or Friday, and then he'll kind of next week and say kind of what he's doing. So I'll let him talk about that.
All right, switching gears a little bit. Without the guys out there, it doesn't seem like that has affected the amount of 7 I see at the tracks. Has not having James or Malcolm racing affected sales, or does the product speak for itself?
No, I think just the amount of brands that emulate what we do speaks more for the brand than having James out there or anything else. Whether it's them stealing the performance aspect of what we do, or even just our look and aesthetic of the brand. I think that speaks more than anything else. But yeah, I mean, realistically, James hasn't been out there for, he missed all of 15, and only raced a few times in 16, and the brand continues to grow every month. So I think we're doing something right.
Yeah, I think it's kind of cool because initially you thought of 7, you only thought of James, but like you've got some key players out there now that you associate the brand with. Like I say 7, I think of Axel Hodges, I think of Jake Weimer,
Yeah.
You've got other guys out there flying the flag, and I think that you must really pick guys with rad riding styles.
No, for sure.
Because like Weimer looks sick all the time, and Axel obviously looks super cool.
Yeah, me and James have said that before. It's like, I mean, some brands will just go out just because you ride a bike, they'll sponsor you, or give you gear, or give you a deal. But I think everything that we do, there's a reason behind it, or a method to it. And I think everyone that we sponsor kind of fits the brand, because I mean, not every guy, just whether they're pro or whatever, doesn't mean they fit our brand. Like we just signed Wanky, that freestyle kid, and he's like perfect for 7. I think he's kind of isn't really well known, but he's really talented on a bike. And a lot of the freestyle guys now have been around forever, been through a bunch of brands, and I think with Wanky, it was just a perfect fit. And Jake, again, like his style on a bike is unbelievable. He always looks good, whether he's in 18th place or he's in 5th place. He always looks good racing at the test track. He just always looks good. And then obviously with Axel and what he's doing with social media. Now we don't have the biggest roster, but I think the guys that we do have fit the brand, fit what we're doing, and I think people appreciate that and respect it.
Wangy, you're talking about the Japanese guy, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not the only Japanese guy in 7.
No, yeah, you're not. I never thought of that. Yeah. Yeah. You got a teammate now. Do you know Wanky?
Huh?
Do you know
I've
Wanky?
met him.
Yeah, dude's such a cool, and he's got the same thing. Like, he's got 6 sponsors. His bikes look perfect. I'm like, if we're gonna have a freestyle guy, that's the guy. So yeah, I'm stoked on Wanky.
Speaking of Weimer, that had to have been a little bit of a fire drill as his gear sponsor last week.
Oh, dude.
You got the call, Tuesday night?
And with the Gibbs guys, I mean, their jerseys look like the front fender of a NASCAR. Like, there's more logos on those things than anything. But yeah, believe it or not, J-Bone actually called wanting to do something with Malcolm, but we were kind of already too far down the road with our own deal, so he passed. And then the selfish side of me, I knew, okay, if he passes on Malcolm, he's going to call Jake. So I knew, 7 was going to be good because, Jake would get the spot. And then once he once he said, yeah, I'm going to do it, then it was like, oh, now we got to build this gear. But we had some time invested in it for sure. But I think it came out pretty good for as many logos as they do have it. I think it came out pretty good.
There's a big trend with like sublimation and stuff of riders' jerseys and names and stuff. That's got to be a huge financial investment for you guys to do custom stuff just for your racers, because they don't want iron-ons or whatnot. Or
yeah, but we still do. I think it looks more custom. The sublimation is easier for sure, more expensive, but easier because you just pull out of the bag and you're good. But
logos pop better when they're...
Yeah, I just think it looks more. I just think it looks more trick, more custom. You know, the sublimated jersey just looks like you went to Chaparral and bought it off the shelf. You know, just took it off the rack and just you're going racing with it. This just looks like, I mean, all those logos are hand placed, and you know, I mean, they spend hours doing that stuff. But I just think it looks more custom. But then also too, if you do a big run of sublimated stuff, and you know that guy for some reason misses some races, you're stuck with all this stuff and you can't do anything with it. You know.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's I just don't like doing it. I just don't like doing it.
Cool. Well, what's next on the horizon for you guys? You guys traditionally do. You don't just launch one line of gear per year. It's like several seasonal releases, right? When's the next setup?
Our next launch is our spring stuff, which I think it's the beginning of March. Mm-hmm. is our next launch date.
That's some of the stuff I saw back there?
Yeah, yep. Jake wore it last week. That red stuff is from our spring line. So we'll start wearing it, like Malcolm will wear it his first race. Mm-hmm. So you'll start seeing it more during Supercross. This weekend we're going to run our current camo stuff with both Jake and Jimmy. But yeah, throughout the next few rounds of Supercross, you'll see the spring stuff.
Cool. Well, hey, thanks for the time, man. It was nice to finally get down here and check out the place.
Yeah, I can't believe you haven't been down here before.
Yeah. So, right on. Well, 7mx.com.
Thanks for coming.